Hi, everybody. Today I want to talk about that weird, uncomfortable feeling that you get when you look in the mirror and you don't really recognize the face that you see there. I know when it happens to me, I'm like, what? Who is this person? And I just can't somehow believe it because the person that I feel myself to be inside isn't matching the face that I see in the mirror. Has that ever happened to you? Well, when it started happening to me, seriously, I got involved in looking for research about how to live so that this disparity between what I see and what I feel inside could come closer together. Because as I approach my 70th birthday this year, it's very important to me to hold on to life, to hold on to that feeling of aliveness. I call it radical aliveness. And radical aliveness isn't probably just going to stumble on you. It's a way of life, it's a lifestyle. And so everything that I find in terms of research that helps me understand how to cultivate this radical aliveness is what I want to bring to these videos. And so this week I had an amazing, really amazing experience with a book called Awe. I love that word. AWE, awe. And, awesome. That word has really, it has diminished the beauty and the value of the word awe because people say awesome about French fries and what you did for where you went for breakfast this morning. Oh, awesome. No, I mean, I wish we could quit because awesome used to be a word that really stopped the scroll, so to speak. And we when something was truly awesome, it was worthy of our attention and it meant something. And these researchers at Stanford have found out that not only does it mean something to the mind, to our thoughts, it means something to our bodies. And that's why I'm here, because if you want to begin to align your biology with your feeling of radical aliveness inside, this understanding what awe is a really powerful tool to put in your toolbox. So let's dive in. I've got a few notes because I don't want you to miss anything. So there's two kinds of awe. And, well, it's not really that there's two kinds of awe, it's that there's two kinds of experiences that open us up to awe. And the first is to comprehend, take in deeply something in the material world, the world around us, walking in a forest, running along a beach, hiking up a mountain, smelling the coffee, smelling the roses that are blooming in the rose garden, feeling soft, furry things on your skin. These, if you really stop and have these experiences, it's awe-inspiring because the ability to perceive the physical world through our senses is an amazing gift. And we take it for granted, friends. All you have to do is look at a little kid, and little kids will teach you everything you need to know about awe because they are not jaded to the world yet. Everything is like, wow, 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 wow. And a day in the life of a little kid may have 20, 30, I don't know, countless experiences of awe, wonderment. And what does that awe and wonderment do? It releases beautiful oxytocin hormone, DHEA, which is a growth hormone, and calms the heart rate, brings the heart into heart coherence, which is a very specific state of regulated, even steady heartbeat. That means that your nervous system is calm and peaceful and receptive. And all these little pieces say to your body, you're safe. And when your body is safe, it doesn't have this cortisol and adrenaline and the hormones and the chemicals that produce stress because stress produces inflammation, and inflammation is what really is the main problem with biological aging, stress. So it's very important to begin to live in this condition of harmony and flow and rightness with the world. So, awe is brought on by two experiences. One is this comprehension of the biological world, but these Stanford researchers found that there was actually an even more powerful way to experience awe, and that is in the noticing of goodness and kindness between people, whether it's something awe-inspiring that someone has unexpectedly done for you, or that you witness something being done between two people and you're just an observer. But this is actually the most common source of awe that people in these studies reported. So it's not that the Grand Canyon and the Northern Lights and mountaintops don't count, but there's something actually very available in your daily life that will trigger this awe response if you become sensitized to it. Even something as simple as a young man helping a disabled person with their groceries at the grocery store. This is not an earth-shattering experience, but the sense of wonderment that we somebody would stop and take a moment out of their busy life and do a kind act for a person in need does trigger this feeling of wonder. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that wonderful? So, ah, very important point. This study, and this one was done at UC Berkeley, was done in 26 countries. So this is not even just the American culture that we're talking about. This is a global experience. And because it's been documented in 26 countries, we also can know from that this is a common denominator that people all over the globe share, the ability to be in awe, in wonderment. So the researchers called this kindness between people moral beauty. And that's an interesting term, right? Because beauty is something that inspires awe. And they named this ability of one person to do a kind act for another moral beauty. So you don't need anything really other than the ability to comprehend life in order to have these awe-inspired moments. But here's the thing, adults have tended to get desensitized to it. Like I said, our kids and our grandkids are the best teachers if we have kind of drifted far away from the ability to know awe and wonderment. Find a way to spend some time with some little kids and then pay attention. Don't don't scroll on your phone when you're with them. Spend time with them. Look at the world through their eyes, and you will see things that you wouldn't see on your own, I promise you. So, a little bit about the science for the science nerds. I'm kind of a science nerd. I don't like to come here and talk to you about things that don't have a research base. So, the inflammation connection. Um, the gerontologist cytokine is a marker of inflammaging. Not another new word, inflammaging. Um, Not a good thing, folks. You don't want to inflammage. You don't want to have a physical body, a biology that it is inflamed all the time. And when you think about it, that is really a common condition. People live in an inflamed state. They're fearful, they're anxious, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're bitter, they're resentful, and they walk around churning their biology in these chemicals that inflame them. Literally, your tissues, your joints, the connective fascia, the muscles, they experience this inflammation, and this accelerates aging. And that's why, or it's at least one big reason why, the woman or man in the mirror is not how you feel inside. Or sometimes I guess it can be because if you're filled full of resentment and anger and you look in the mirror, you will see that on your face. And that's one reason that people stop looking at themselves in the mirror. I can tell you from having started to talk about looking at yourself in the mirror that people on the whole don't tend to want to do it. They don't want to see what's in the mirror. And that's because of something very important. It reflects how much you are living in this inflamed state. And it's very uncomfortable to acknowledge that. This really happened to me last August when my mother died. Overnight, I aged 10 years. And luckily, as I've learned to live with my grief and feel a connection with my mother on a different level, the grief has become actually a part of a way of honoring my relationship with her. And I have learned how to allow the grief to move me into that feeling of, oh yeah, she's still here. We're still connected. That heart to heart connection isn't going anywhere. And so no longer is that terrible shock of losing her showing on my face. But I'm telling you, the day after she died, it was horrific and it was scary. And I could see right then how consciousness, the way that we are thinking, the awareness that we are living in, is reflected on our face. So, if you're not happy with what you see in the mirror, that's a very direct indicator to you that you need to do some alignment work with what's inside and what's showing on the outside. And this is measurable. Your emotional state will change your inflammatory profile. That's powerful, right? So here's what awe does to your brain. It quiets the default mode network. I like to call this the aging default. If you don't take ownership of your awareness and how you use it, the aging default will run the show because the neural pathways of the brain are much more responsive to the negative emotions than the positive. And, that's because it has survival value. Back in the day when we were being chased around by this famous saber-toothed tiger, we needed to really get right on it when there was a problem. But our modern day life, we don't have saber-toothed tigers, and so the things that trip us into that system are, like traffic and road rage and interpersonal conflict that's not resolved properly. So this inflammation is measurable, but when you live in this state of awe, this default network is quieted and it gives room for this other experience that's more transcendent. And as I already told you, that's when these youthing hormones and youthing chemicals are begin to flood the body. So in a way, this feeling of awe diminishes you in the grand scheme of important things. Your own little concerns find a more reasonable place in the grand scheme of the whole wonder of what we're doing here and what's available to us and the opportunities of being human. And what are you going to keep your focus on? Are you going to focus on what you want to experience? Or are you going to keep your focus on what you do not want to experience? And sorry to say, friends, most of us keep our focus on what we don't want. And you know what happens when you focus on something? You get more of it. Not because there's more there, but because this is another part of the way that the brain is designed. What you put your attention on expands in your awareness. And so when you focus on anger and bitterness and resentment and fear and anxiety and all those negative things, you see more things to be afraid of. You see more things to be angry about. You see more things to resist. And one thing about awe, there's a go with the flow kind of energy to awe. because you recognize that you're just like a little grain of sand just seeing the enormity of the universe, and from that point of view there's no reason to try to control anything. And there's an acceptance of what's so. The Milky Way and the starry sky, the vastness of the universe, the kindness of seeing someone do a good thing or a kind thing for another person. It puts us in our proper relationship with the cosmos. And when you feel that, then it's not so difficult to trust that maybe life is unfolding as it should, even if it's not unfolding in a way that's pleasing to you. But if you begin to get the idea that it's unfolding as it should and that there are possibilities that are coming toward you through this unfoldment, now what are you focused on? Oh, well, let me see what these opportunities are. Let me focus on what's coming toward me that's a gift from the universe. And when you begin to get gifts from the universe and you feel like your life is miraculous, what do you know then? Ah, my life is a miracle. I could be over there, and instead I'm right here, and this is a good place to be. And when your body gets that message, oxytocin, DHEA, wonderful chemicals that feel good. So, a deeper level of this is that we have emotions that hijack our ability to be in this state of awe. And that's going to be a topic for another time because I think I've already been talking here for a while. But just to say that there are ways to really become conscious of how it is that you are navigating life and places where you are giving up your power to what I call emotional hijackers. Very important. So, awe has multiple access points, many ways to find yourself in awe. You don't have to find it in nature if you're not an outdoor person. You can find it by looking around at the interactions of people, and that's an exciting thing. You don't have to be spiritual. It can come through art. It can come through music. It can come through the creative aspect of humankind. You can go to a museum and be awestruck by the beauty of things that you find there. And isn't it amazing that most museums have something for everyone? There's no need to only find one kind of picture at most museums. There's, and sculpture and all the things, historical museums. There's just a rich world to be explored, and you can find your way into awe. So there's moral beauty, there's nature, there's music, there's collective effervescence. This is another really cool phrase out of this study that when people are together, have you ever, for example, done a drum circle? Now, listen, if you haven't ever done a drum circle, you might want to check this out because it is more exciting than you can ever imagine. The feeling of just a beat that is being riffed on by a bunch of people sitting in a circle. I'm telling you, that is fun stuff. I've done it myself, and I now note to self, I need to go find one of those nearby because it's been a while. And it's really, really fun. Spirituality, um, the fact that life does have an end point, and whatever is beyond that, awesome. Whatever it is, it'll be awesome. And then epiphanies, realizations, insights. Oh, this happens to me a lot. I'm one of those people that's always kind of poking around inside myself, looking for where are these barriers to the bliss of life the way that it is. And these insights are just like, wow, I can't believe I didn't know that about myself and how exciting that is. So, what you can do, take an awe walk if you're a nature person. Go out and really just be with your environment. You know, like one time I love to tell this story when my grandson was 3 years old, we went on a walk and he collected 5 little pieces of pea gravel. And we played all afternoon with those little 5 pieces of rock. Now, I guarantee you, I would have missed those. But boy, there's a lot of gravel because I live in a rural area, and out of all the gravel out there, he found these five special stones. And the fun that we had with them was it could have been infinite. It seemed like it would just go on forever. So, in whatever way that works for you, dedicate some time this week to letting the world take your breath away. Kind of dust off the lens that's clouded and become jaded to all the rush and the this and the that of life, and let yourself really experience awe. And then come back and tell me in the comments what happened. How was it? Are you going to be a awe freak like me? Because I'm into it now. Now that I know what's possible, I'm not going to let this avenue get closed up again. So that's my comments for you today. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're uplifted. I hope you're awestruck, frankly. Wouldn't that be cool if my excitement about this could be communicated to you and I could give you the gift of opening up these beautiful pathways for youthing yourself? So come back and see me again. Much love. Bye for now.